This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on CBN NewsWatch. I am George Thomas. We're looking at an incident that happened off the coast of near the Philippine Sea, a major naval event. According to the U.S. Department of Defense, the two Navy vessels came, this is the Russian and the U.S. Navy vessels, came in striking distance from each other before noon local time. Russia blamed the United States, but according to the U.S. 7th Fleet, the Russian ship made an, quote, unsafe maneuver, endangering the safety of the crew of the USS Chancellorsville. The area has been a region of intense conflict between the United States and China. Beijing has acted aggressively in recent years, claiming islands and shoals in the area on its own territory. The U.S. Navy has often squared off and challenged Chinese vessels in the South China Sea, but this is the first time since the Cold War that a close call with a Russian Navy ship has occurred in the Philippine Sea. My colleague Gary Lane, Chief International Correspondent, is following the story and joins us now from the newsroom. So why is the Pentagon so concerned? Don't these types of cat and mouse games occur regularly with Russia?
Well, they do, especially in the air between Navy pilots. They've had some close calls as they play this cat and mouse game often to challenge one another. But, George, this is serious because this happened not in the South China Sea where we've squared off against the Chinese, but in the Philippine Sea against a Russian vehicle or vessel. And that is of grave concern to the Pentagon. They say it's showing a more aggressive Russian military in the area and perhaps even support for China and China's position on the area coming from Russia.
Gary, what does this signify? A stronger, more aggressive, threatening Russian military?
Well, that is the concern, George, but as you know, they're really no match for the U.S. Navy and the U.S. military. But this type of action in the Philippine Sea is highly unusual. As I've said, this is the first time since the Cold War that we've seen this type of incident happening in that area of the world. So really, again, it signifies that Russia's standing with China. They want the United States to know, hey, we support China and their territorial claims in this area, the shoals and the islands of not only the South China Sea, but even in the Philippine Sea.
Yeah. Gary, give us a perspective. Why is this all happening now?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, George, but just 2 days ago, or a day and a half ago, we saw China and Russia getting together. President Xi from China meeting with Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. And these two men got together to talk about geopolitics, also working out trade and economic deals between their two countries and bettering relations between the two. This should be of graver concern than what happened in the Philippine Sea today, because this shows an alliance between two world powers. The second largest economy in the world and one of the largest militaries in the world with Russia. China, of course, the second largest economy in the world. So this should be of great concern, not only to the United States, but also our allies in Europe and around the world, because this shows a new alliance, maybe an anti-American alliance. And, George, I just have to mention, as you remember, Russia has sanctions against them, economic sanctions that Trump imposed upon them after Crimea and that whole incident there where they moved into Crimea, and also higher tariffs now on China. So these two are pushing back, China and Russia, and this is a signal to the U.S. today.
Yeah. How are U.S. officials reacting to this near collision?
Well, they're very concerned about it, but again, these cat-mouse games go on all the time with Russia. But we're, of course, the United States, blaming Russia for it. Russia says no. The U.S. was acting aggressively and is trying to show its power and its might. But this is of concern because this is something new.
Interesting, because the video also showed Russian sailors actually getting a suntan while this was all happening just feet from each other. I'm curious, what can President Trump and the United States do to counter this new Sino-Russian alliance?
Well, I think exactly what President Trump did. He met with our allies just before the 75th anniversary of D-Day and the landing in Normandy. He met with Theresa May in the UK, reassured the folks in the UK that we stand with the UK. They reassured him that, hey, we have this alliance and this friendship that goes way back. Same thing with the French and President Macron. So and also in the past with the Germans. So he's got to firm up those relationships, not be too distracted about what China and Russia are doing, but show Russia and China, look, the United States means business. We have a strong military in the region, and we have some strong friends that are standing with us as well.
Okay, terrific, Gary. Thank you so much, as always, for your insights. By the way, we will have more on this story and others on Faith Nation this evening. You can watch it right here on the CBN News channel. Vice President Mike Pence says the U.S. is encouraged by Mexico stepping up efforts to halt illegal immigration over the southern border, but says tariffs still are set to take effect on Monday.
I've been receiving reports throughout the day as those negotiations have continued at the State Department, and we're encouraged that, frankly, the Mexican delegation brought even more proposals today. But I'll be talking to the President later tonight over the course of this weekend about what's being proposed. But the American people can be confident. While we continue to advance policies like the USMCA, we'll continue to drive forward policies for infrastructure legislation, all the kinds of things that will continue to support a growing American economy. This president has no higher priority than ending the crisis of illegal immigration that is flooding our southern border.
Last week, President Trump announced the U.S. would impose 5% tariffs on all goods coming in from Mexico. The increases would continue through October, capping at 25%. Here locally in our community, Virginia Beach united Thursday to remember those lost in the mass shooting at the city government's complex. My colleague Heather Sells has a look at the night that brought out the best in a community that witnessed the worst.
Just 1 week after 12 people lost their lives, the city of Virginia Beach hosted a service for people of all faiths to remember. Several thousand people attended, and while anyone could enter Rock Church, police surrounded the building both on foot and horseback. Service provided an opportunity for people to mourn.
We come together as one community with no division.
We grieve with the families of the victims whose lives will never be the same.
It provided prayers and reflections from a variety of faiths.
May our faith in your sovereignty, God, in your love and your care, give us the humility to recognize that we do not, nor may we ever know why some things happen.
And it honored the victims. City council members led a moment of silence for each of the 12 who lost their lives. At the end of the service, the audience gave repeated standing ovations as the vice mayor praised the first responders.
Our wonderful city employees have stepped up, and they've stepped up big time. From the police officers who rushed to the sound of gunfire, to the sheriff's deputies who took control of the city and locked it down. Our emergency response was dynamic, it was impressive, and it saved lives.
Officials also noted that many are still working, investigators trying to understand what motivated the shooter, chaplains supporting victims' families, and city officials encouraging Virginia Beach to move forward.
When you walk through a storm.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
And Heather joins me here in studio. Heather, wow, I mean, the folks at that service really responded to the Vice Mayor's comments about first responders, really resonated with them, right?
Yes, it was really interesting because it was a subdued service, and appropriately
Up
so.
until then.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then he spoke, and I think there was a pent-up need for people to acknowledge, look what these people have done, they have our backs. And I think there really is a deep-seated feeling in Virginia Beach right now that that we owe everything to our first responders, and we want to do all we can to support them in the days to come.
Yeah, you mentioned in your piece that there were a number of high-ranking government officials, including the state governor. How did politics play out in this process?
Right, and that's always a part of these situations. It is notable that the governor is trying to make a comeback right now. You may remember that just months ago, Democrats in Virginia were urging him to step down after a racist yearbook photo from his medical school surfaced. Many in the pro-life movement are also appalled by his pro-abortion comments earlier this year. So last night when the governor spoke, he talked about supporting the families of the victims, and he also spoke about faith.
I am a person of faith, and I believe that God is in control. I don't always understand His purpose, but I have to believe that God is good. And I believe that people are good amid the horrors created by one person. We saw the good of so many others. Over the past several days, we have seen great kindness and love in this community.
Interesting that he would talk about faith, perhaps trying to reach out to people of faith?
Right. Well, you have to wonder the timing right now. We have got legislative primary elections just days away in Virginia with the legislative election this fall. So that may be Republicans control both houses in Virginia, but with narrow majorities. So I think Democrats see an opportunity trying to reach a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's been a week since this horrific massacre that happened at the infamous building number 2. I know the FBI and other local authorities are, they're still going through the building, making sure they get all of their pieces of evidence. But what about the future of this building and those who used to work in the building?
Right. So it housed over 300 people, and that's just employees, never mind the public that comes and goes. And the building is closed indefinitely right now. Authorities aren't sure when they're going to open it, if ever. Local TV station WTKR is saying that the city manager doesn't think that it will reopen again. And you can only imagine, George, these people have experienced incredible trauma in this building. And how can they open it? So right now there's about 26 different locations where employees are being sent to, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. You and I have covered stories like this of mass shootings in other parts of the country. When it comes and hits us right here at home, it takes on a different significance. Real quickly, talk about your own reflections covering the story right as it broke last week, but then also yesterday evening. What was any takeaways from this whole experience and how the community came together?
I think there is a hope that Virginia Beach will do it well. And I mean, I think it is doing it well right now, if you will, in terms of coming together and realizing the need to come together. I think that, at least for myself, and I think maybe other people here are realizing, we tend to kind of discount, if you will, first responders in our normal day-to-day lives. And then at a moment like this, you realize, my goodness, they have our back. In fact, they'd be willing to lay down their life for me. Exactly. And so I think just a really renewed sense of appreciation.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for staying on top of this story from the very beginning last week.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Okay, terrific. Well, folks, flash flood warnings across the Midwestern U.S. after a new round of storms brought more heavy rain and damaging winds. The storms have killed at least 6 people in Oklahoma. Flooding along the Arkansas, Mississippi, and Missouri rivers have swamped homes and businesses over the last week. This latest band of storms follows weeks of severe weather, including dozens of tornadoes. The National Weather Service says the storms brought winds of 70 to 80 mile-per-hour winds in some parts of the country. Coming up, what ancient piece of history archaeologists have discovered in the Holy Land. That story right in a moment.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet. free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. A major archaeological discovery in Israel raised the question of how to preserve the past without stopping progress towards the future. CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell takes a look when a modern highway at an ancient town came to a crossroads.
No one expected to find the biblical town of Beth Shemesh from the time of Isaiah and Hezekiah.
We thought that the Assyrians destroyed, and it took years for us to come back, and that everyone left and there was no one here. But that's not true. And we know it's not true because we have these finds.
Archaeologists thought a much earlier site on the other side of the road was all there was to Beth Shemesh. But before expanding a highway, they excavated and found a treasure.
What they understood from the finds is that after the city of Beth Shemesh was destroyed in the year 701 by Sennacherib, king of Assyria, a very, very famous historical and biblical event, a new settlement was founded not on the top of the mound, but on the slope, on the eastern slope of the mound.
The road also connects to the Elah Valley, where David killed Goliath, and Beth Shemesh is associated with the return of the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem.
We can read the Bible, we can study history, we can learn archaeology, but when all of those three elements come together, then we have the proof of that history and that historicity of the biblical text.
Jar handles with royal seals, smashed figurines, and other artifacts from the site are on exhibition at the Bible Lands Museum in Jerusalem. But there's more to the story.
The progress that is required to build a new nation with housing and roads and infrastructure requires digging down and building new things.
Modern-day Beth Shemesh is about 20 miles outside Jerusalem. It has a population of about 110,000 and is growing fast.
It's complicated because I want to protect the road. I want to protect the site, and I need to find the way to protect both of them.
Archaeologists and developers knew they had to work together and fast.
The reality is that people need homes and roads need to be created, and there's this balance, there's this debate in how do we do it.
And they came up with a compromise plan to alter the road and still preserve the historical site with the hope of developing the past for future generations. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. After the break, we'll take a look at what's trending on This Week on faithwire.com.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family, and collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app, a great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Welcome back here with this week's trending stories from FaithWire, CBN's Jessica Chaco and Dan Andros.
Well, it's been called a pro-life miracle. The world's smallest baby goes home healthy. Newborn Sabi was delivered weighing only 8.6 ounces, and she's the smallest recorded baby to survive. Here to tell us more about this miracle birth, managing editor of FaithWire, Dan Andros. Dan, this is an incredible story.
Yeah, just incredible. And this is, of course, as in the backdrop of this around the country, we have this debate over abortion that's just raging on, and you see more and more laws being passed. Now we have heartbeat laws on the one side, and the other side you have states like New York that are passing laws that are extreme on the other end for allowing late-term abortions. And so this story particularly struck a nerve with our audience. Because this was the record smallest infant to be born alive. It was after they had found that the little baby in the womb was not gaining any weight. So doctors decided that it was time that they had to just go ahead and get this baby out via C-section, and they did that. And miraculously, they said that the baby had none of the normal complications that come from delivering a baby, this size and this early. And now, since that time, after being in the NICU for 5 months, she has been up to 5 pounds now. So she's starting to thrive and doing well.
Well, there's incredible footage on the FaithWire website with all the nurses taking care of little baby Sabi. So we encourage all of you to go take a look at that. Well, Anderson County, Texas is experiencing an incredible revival, and it's happening in an unlikely place. Caulfield Maximum Security Prison partnered with Gateway Church to plant a church inside the prison walls. And according to the campus pastor, the results have been mind-blowing. Dan?
Yeah, Gateway is a megachurch down in North Dallas, Texas. And they decided 6 months ago to start a ministry. This is a rare thing. I don't know if there's another one like it in the country where they started a campus because they have multiple campuses because it's such a big church. They decided to start one right there in the prison. And so that was a few months ago. And now here we are several months later. And they just had a ceremony where 5 rival gang members from different varying gangs within the prison decided to be baptized, and it was a great moment. But knowing what happens when you leave gangs, there's usually a severe punishment, sometimes even death for just leaving a gang. So the security level was very high. They had to clear the prison to do these baptisms. And the ministers there present said that they never had to risk their lives for Christ. So to watch these guys step forward and say, they're going to give their lives to Christ, and regardless of the cost, was very inspirational. to them. And so, one of the gang members said that he'd been trying it his way his whole life, and this is where it got him. So it was time for him to try it God's way. So really inspirational stuff, and glad to see that even behind prison walls, these guys are being saved by Christ.
Well, thanks, Dan. For these stories and more, visit FaithWire on Facebook and on the web at faithwire.com.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Before we go, we just want to remind you to check out our CBN News Daily podcast with Caitlin Burke. She gives a behind-the-scenes look at a key story in the news every day. You can find it at cbnnews.com. On the show tab, click on it. It's titled To Listen and Subscribe. Well, folks, that is it for this edition of Newswatch. We hope you can find more of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime on our CBN News channel right here. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you have seen. Email us at newswatch@cbn.com. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a fantastic weekend ahead. And from all of us here at CBN News, God bless you.